Hi everybody, welcome. So I recently picked up the new Milani All-Inclusive Eye, Cheek, and Face palette. So in today's video, I thought that I would put this to the test. I will be sharing some swatches with you as well as showing you how I got the look that I'm wearing today. So if you are interested in hearing more about this Milani palette and seeing how I created this look, then just keep on watching. Alright, so like I said, this is the Milani All-Inclusive Eye, Cheek, and Face palette. This is a new launch by Milani. As of right now, it is available on their website. If you do purchase it on the website, it is $14.99, and then this is also available in stores at Walmart. I picked mine up from my local Walmart, and it was $12.97 there, so just a couple dollars cheaper if you do pick it up from Walmart. So this is available in two different color options. They have a light to medium and then a medium to deep option. So I have the light to medium option, which is what I will be sharing with you today. And basically in this face palette, you get a bronzer, a highlight, two different blushes, and then 3 eyeshadows. So I will insert swatches for you here. Again, first swatch here is the bronzer and the highlight shade. And then next are the 2 blushes. So again, 1 matte blush and 1 shimmer blush. And then there are 3 eyeshadows as well. You get 2 matte shadows and 1 shimmer shadow. So I actually haven't used this yet. I have not put it on my face, but I have played around with the formulas and things as I was doing the swatches, but I'm super excited to give it a try. Actually, upon first glance, this reminds me a lot of the Charlotte Tilbury Instant Look in a Palette face palettes. If you're familiar with those have been on my list honestly for quite some time, but I can never quite bring myself to spend $75 on them. So when I saw that Milani was launching these, immediately that's what I thought of. I won't be able to tell you if it's a dupe or not because I haven't used the Charlotte Tilbury version, but that's immediately what I thought of. So I'm excited to try this and hopefully it'll be something that's at least similar. So I'm gonna go ahead. I have obviously half of my makeup done. I have, my foundation, concealer, powder, all of that done, as well as my brows. So I'm going to start with the face products, and I'm going to start with the bronze shade here. I'm going to use this all over my face to warm up my complexion, and then I will test this out as a contour shade as well. So just going in with a big fluffy brush. The one thing I'm noticing kind of right off the bat is they're generous sizes for what it is, but I mean, in comparison to my brush, you can see what the size of the pan looks like here. So I'm a little nervous kind of dipping my brush in here that I might pick up some of this shadow shade over here. So I'll be really careful, but it's gonna, yeah, like I thought, kind of get everywhere. It's a bit messy. So this is the one thing that I noticed, I guess, right off the bat and while I was doing the swatches. Everything in here, aside from the eyeshadow and the highlight, those were kind of like super glittery, but everything else is like a really soft powdery formula. Hopefully you can see right here when I put my brush into the bronzer, I got a lot of kickback on that shade. So the bronzer is actually blending out quite nicely. It's just a little bit hard to work with. I feel like I can only get the product kind of right on the tip of my brush. So I'm trying to kind of like, get all sides of my brush in here, only because in this palette, obviously the pan is kind of small, like I mentioned. But other than that, I think that the color looks nice. Again, it's a softer formula, so I feel like I'm having to do just a little bit of blending, but not bad. So I've got that applied then all over, again, just to kind of warm up my complexion. And now I'm going to go in with an angled brush and again use the same bronze shade and see how this looks as a contour. I have a feeling it might not be the best, again, just because of the undertone of this. Again, I usually go for something that's not so orangey, and it does say that it's a bronze shade, not necessarily a contour shade, so I'm not going to hold it against him, but I do typically like to just use my bronzer as contour on a day-to-day basis because it's a lot quicker to just reach for one product. But again, still kind of same thing, very, very powdery. I'm getting a lot of kickback as I'm going in and picking this up with the brush. As I suspected, it's not really my favorite for a contour. I think, again, for me, it's just the shade, and it is looking, granted this is not blended out right here, but it is looking kind of like muddy and patchy, which I don't like. So we'll just keep blending and see if I can get it to look a little better. So I've got the bronzer all blended out now, and again, applied that as a contour. Honestly, it's not really my favorite. I don't think that it looks, again, that great on me. It's probably not the best shade. And then not only that, I don't know. It was really hard to work with in this palette, which I kind of suspected. So upon my first kind of use, I don't foresee myself using the bronzer in here. That's not to say that you can't work with it. I think, again, like if you're just going somewhere and you want to take, you know, one palette, which is kind of the point of something like this, you can use it, you can work with it. Again, not a terrible product, just not something that I would use or probably reach for on a day-to-day basis. So moving on to the blush now. I'm going to try to use both of the blush shades. Again, there's a matte and a shimmer. I'm going to apply the matte shade all over my cheeks, and then I'm going to use this really shimmery shade and kind of try that as a blush topper. Again, same thing as soon as I dipped in here. Super soft, lots of fallout. Ooh, very pigmented though. This is a really pretty shade. Because my blush brush is quite a bit smaller, I'm actually not having as big of an issue just dipping into the blush shade. I find that my brush kind of goes in there nice, and I'm able to get kind of an even amount of product all over my brush. So again, obviously my bronzer brush was a lot bigger, but not having that issue with the blush shade over here. I really like the blush. I think this is a really pretty kind of, it's like a peachy mauve shade. And again, this one that I'm putting on first here is the matte shade. I probably wouldn't normally do this, but again, in the interest of trying to show you every single shade out of here, I am going to go now in with the shimmery blush shade on just a small little duo fiber brush. I'm going to pick up just a little bit of that and try to use this as a blush topper and see what happens. Again, this is a very like shimmery blush. I don't know if I would use it on its own. Maybe I would if I was going to skip highlight that day or something, but yeah, this is almost more like probably a better highlight option, honestly, as I'm kind of putting it on here. It's very shimmery. So I'm going to go in now with the highlight. Again, it's a very gold highlight here. I feel like it's going to be very, very pigmented. So we will see. Again, same thing. Pretty soft, powdery shade. Let's see. Ooh, yeah, okay. Yeah, this is very glittery. All right. And I'm just like barely tapping my brush into this, and yeah. I typically like a more like subtle highlight, so I don't know if this is up my alley. But if you like really like chunky shimmery highlights, this might be for you. I'm gonna try to soften it up a bit. Again, I barely dipped my brush into that shade, and it's, yeah, again, quite shimmery, quite glittery. Okay, hopefully you guys can tell on camera. I'll try to like move my head around so that you can like catch a glimpse of the highlight. It's one of those highlights that is very concentrated, I guess, in that like you can kind of tell exactly where I put it. It's not a soft highlight. Again, I tried to go in with a really light hand. I think that it's pretty. It's just not typically what I go for. I usually like a bit sheerer of a highlight, just something that gives me just like a little bit of shimmer that's not so in your face, which this definitely is. But it's not bad. You can tell though, I don't know, again, if you'll be able to see on camera, but you can tell like when I look at it and when I turn, it is catching very like yellow. So all in all on the face products, I'm kind of torn because again, I really liked the blush shade, but the others aren't wowing me. Again, I think that with the purpose of this palette to be able to just like take one thing and have the option to use it, again, you could definitely use all of the face shades in here and create a look, but it's not something that I think beats out any other products that I have. So I don't foresee myself like reaching for this or using any of the shades in place of other products that I have, if that makes sense. As a palette, it's nice, and again, like it works if you wanted to travel light and only bring something like this. Again, you could work with them, but not wowing me to the point where it would like replace any of the other products that I have. So yeah, I don't know. I guess those are my thoughts on the face. I'm kind of just like right in the middle, but let's go ahead and move on to the eyes now. So starting with the crease, I'm going to go ahead and take this top shadow here, which is a nice kind of like matte mauve shade, and I'm going to put this into my crease. Again, here I'm kind of noticing the same thing with the face shades in here, very soft, very powdery shadows here, lots of kickback, so I'm just making sure to tap off my brush so I don't get a ton of fallout. Moving on to the lid, I'm going to use the middle shimmer shade for my lid, and upon swatching this, this does seem like a shade that you're going to need to use your finger with. It's kind of like, it's really pigmented and it's really pretty, but I just don't know. I guess we'll try it. It doesn't seem like it's something that would work well with a brush, but I'm going to put, because I've already got some on my finger, I'm going to use my finger for this eye here, and then I'll see what happens with a brush on the other eye. But again, when I did the swatches, this definitely seems like something you'd have to use your finger for. Otherwise, you might just end up with like a sheer wash of color, but you'll see. All right, going in with a brush over here. Yeah, okay, like I thought. This would be actually, if you wanted to probably use this shade as more of like a shadow topper, a brush would be the way to go, but I'm not getting a ton of pigment. I'll show you. So obviously this side over here was with my finger, and then this side here was with a brush. So much sheerer of a color payoff over here. But again, if you were using this more so as a shadow topper, it would actually be really pretty. I actually really like this eye though. This shade is really unique. I guess I wasn't expecting that. I think it's a really pretty shade. It's a rosy kind of like light copper shade, but then it's got flecks of like peachy gold shimmer in it. I don't know, it's really pretty. I like it. Even using my finger, I did still get quite a bit of fallout with that shade. So it's a little bit messy, but I really like that shade. I think that it's really pretty on the lid. It'd be really pretty just to leave it like this, but I'm going to go ahead and deepen up the outer corner using the bottom matte shadow here. For the lower lash line now, I'm going to take this first shadow that we used for the crease, and I'm going to put this kind of just like all along the lower lash line. Then I'm going to take this bottom shade that we used in the outer corner and put this in the outer third of my lower lash line. And then I'm going to add just a little bit more shimmer to the inner portion here and bring this down underneath the inner portion of the lower lash line as well, and just kind of blend everything together. All right, so that is going to complete the shadow. Honestly, I really like it, but it's a really kind of soft eye look. The shade that I used in my outer corner obviously wasn't super deep, so I don't think you're going to be able to get a very like dramatic look using this palette. But for an everyday look, I actually like the way that it turned out. I especially like the shade that I used on my lid. I think it's super unique and really beautiful. Again, just a very kind of like nice pink shade with that nice like peachy gold shift. I really like it. As far as the formula of the shadows goes, I mean, in keeping with the theme of the rest of the palette, they are very soft, powdery shadows, so I did get quite a bit of fallout, but I'm happy with the way that the eyes turned out and the way that this looks. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish up with some mascara really quickly. All right, you guys, so this is the finished look. I'm gonna go ahead and end the video here. I hope that you enjoyed my review of the new Milani All-Inclusive Eye, Cheek, and Face palette. Like I mentioned throughout, I think that this has some potential. I'm not going to completely write it off yet. I especially like the way that the eye look turned out and the shadows, and then there are a couple of the face shades that I'm going to continue to work with as well. I do think that for what it is, it's a really great value, and like I said, I'm going to continue to play around with this. So again, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video and that you found it helpful. If you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel down below. As always, you guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video.